Yes, thank you, Chair. First of all, I would like this opportunity to thank Senator Feinstein for her perseverance and to see this report through before the change in the Senate. Because I think this reminds us, and I think Mrs. Hohlmeier said it very rightly, that what sets a democracy apart from a dictatorship is accountability and moral authority. None of us around the world are immune for these tendencies. We all have this kind of violence in us, but what makes us different is that we have accountability and there is no impunity in a democracy. And therefore I'm very pleased to hear all colleagues from all political groups insist on accountability and on the need for Europe to come clean with its role in this whole CIA program. Because we can point at the Americans, but Europe has supported the CIA counterterrorism program. All aspects of it. And I'm glad that Poland finally admitted, but there are many other countries, because let's not forget, there is a number of member states that are close allies of the US, the Nine Eyes, the Five Eyes and the Nine Eyes. And I think this Parliament has expressed itself several times. Therefore, I'm actually shocked to hear the commonplaces uttered by the Italian presidency. Italy is the one country that has actually prosecuted CIA agents. You have convicted 24 CIA agents. Will Italy, will the Italian presidency insist on extradition by the United States and bring those people to trial, like everybody else who's responsible for torture should be brought to trial? No, Mr. Obama, we cannot draw a line under this until those responsible have been brought to justice. That is why we are a democracy, are not. Then another question I have here is, I read a statement in the press by the head of INTCEN, the intelligence center, which is a kind of vague, unclear, kind of embryonic European Union secret service. He said, there is no way of knowing whether intelligence that INTCEN receives was obtained through torture. Excuse me? So this is an EU body paid for by EU money, processing information they may have obtained from third countries, processing information that may have obtained from torture. Well, maybe he doesn't, but then we should know. We should finally get answers on the nature and the activities of INTCEN, answers we have asked for many times, and we should have proper oversight over INTCEN. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, President. I would say one thing Mr. Brok says accurately is that we both met Dianne Feinstein in the United States on the NSA inquiry, and she was brave then and she was brave on this subject. She faced huge pressure on the question of making this report happen, and we should be very aware, and Mr. Coelho will agree, that we are now vindicated on our 2006 CIA rendition inquiry and our report, happening in a very different context, in a very different time. And I would remind colleagues that in 2006, when we investigated with secondary sources, not the primary sources that the US Senate had, but when we investigated in secondary sources, all of the terrible and horrific brutal torture methods in this Parliament, it was under severe pressure, investigating our own governments in that context in a very fragile way. But we were vindicated because many of the same conclusions happened in this Parliament, and that was a very difficult thing for us to do. And what conclusions did we come up with? We came up with what John McCain said, a Republican, a man who had been tortured. And I noted the blue card question, someone who understood the difference between interrogation and brutal torture. And what he said was that it was legally and morally wrong, but he also said that it brought no new information in the fight against terrorism. These are people who are not soft on terrorism. These are people who understand the qualitative difference between interrogation and the qualitative difference between having no information and bad information. That was John McCain and why people are quoting him today. So let's understand that we were vindicated in our inquiry, and this is not the end of the road. We have people languishing in Guantanamo Bay today who should be free, like Sheikh Ahmed, people who our governments are requesting to be freed, who have been tortured, who have had families, who are actually languishing in prison. The story is not finished. It has only begun. These are our citizens, EU citizens. They are languishing in prison. They have been tortured repeatedly. We want them back, and we should be representing them.
Following revelations by the US Senate of CIA torture, notably of prisoners held in Guantanamo, MEPs have reopened their investigation. Several EU member states have been directly implicated in authorising renditions on their territories, and allegations suggest their involvement in the tortures.
Those who are responsible in the US, but as well in European states who cooperated with this program, must be held responsible, must be tried and held responsible. The law is the same for all.
MEPs will vote on a resolution in plenary in February.